D&D players and dungeon masters, are you playing in a railroaded game right now? Or you're a dungeon master and you've been accused of railroading? Either way, this video is for you. I have some easy tricks to learn about railroading and maybe steps to avoid it and prevent it. So let's talk a little bit what railroading actually is. So let's not get a linear adventure mixed up with railroading. So railroading is different because railroading could stem from a linear adventure, but it's when players feel like their choices have no impact on the story. Imagine a train, if you will, in the railroading analogy. It's on a single track, and the players are on the train, but they are not the conductor. They cannot even be the conductor for a moment. They are passengers on the train no matter what they do. Railroading tends to stem from or come from linear adventures, but they're not the same thing. Look, I can sympathize with dungeon masters wanting to run a linear adventure. They are totally fine, they're good, as long as you run your session 0 and you tell your players, hey, this is going to be a fairly linear game, and they sign up for it, then great. But here's where it all goes wrong. It's the tendency of scripting an outcome is the issue. So when the DM is actually writing the game, kind of like a novel, so they have all these problems, right? But they're also writing a solution to those problems and not letting the players solve the problems their own way. So let's suppose the group is in a haunted forest at night. Let's say a player rolls a really high perception or survival check, and they spot a hidden town in the forest, kind of towards the edge. Now the players may naturally want to explore. So instead of the dungeon master letting them explore the town, they put up obstacles in the way. But the intent of the obstacles isn't just to hinder them, it's actually to prevent them from getting there altogether. They might say something like, there's a magical barrier in the way, or ghosts appear to try to scare you from the town. If players get past these ghosts and the barrier, maybe a giant crevice suddenly appears between them and the town, conveniently, right? You get the idea. So the problem aren't the obstacles themselves, right? But it's the dungeon master's inflexibility. The dungeon master in these situations have a fear of losing control of the game and perhaps a lack of confidence in running the game. So again, this is actually really hard to address at a table, and I think a lot of players just quit, but I think there are some solutions you can try first. The hardest part really is to nudge the dungeon master without offending them. So I would actually invite the dungeon master to play in a looser game setting, either run by you or maybe a friend you know who's a dungeon master. Look, if you're running the game yourself for your dungeon master and your table, I'd start with these two things. Write down a setting, and 2, just write down a main problem. One big threat, one main problem. That's it. Just stop there. Don't write out any solutions to the problem. That's for the players to solve. Let's suppose you have a temperate coastal village on the beach. A recent tidal wave wiped out the fishing docks and a few homes. So locals believe they saw a monster or sea creature come out before the tidal wave struck the town. My second bit of advice, especially when running this game or having a DM run this game, keep track of how many times you say yes. Use yes and yes but a lot. The yes and the yes but rule is actually from improv and acting. As an acting kid in high school, I remember if somebody came into a scene saying no, it just put the brakes on the scene. It brings down their momentum and removes energy from the room. Look, you don't have to agree with every unreasonable player request at the table, but try to say yes more often than no, and that will give your players more options, and plus it will make them feel like they're not being railroaded, because railroading really comes from not having options and inflexibility by saying no. Let's go back to that coastal village and sea creature example. So let's say after the scene is described, let players interact with the environment with a simple, what would you all like to do? The players might choose to do a few things. You can write out some options. They might ask clues for information from the locals. They might try to find a boat, immediately flip it over and sail into the sea. They might want to look for diving equipment, go underwater to search for the sea creature or any clues. And they might even just agree to rebuild the village and maybe help defend it if the sea creature comes back. The point of all this is just to run with whatever choice they make. So let's say a player asks, can I see if there's any research building, a marine research area? I'm wondering if they have any equipment I can use for going underwater. As DM, you might say, yes. And you see a group of people around a research area huddled around this mysterious glass and metal apparatus. My last trick is kind of outside the game, or really when designing a game, you got to keep a few things in mind here, and I call it the rule of 3 paths. So what the rule of 3 paths suggests is when you're writing an adventure, maybe come up with a few different ideas for players to interact with the scene rather than just one. This will help you anticipate what players might choose and kind of keep your mind open to other options. Do you have a town with quest givers? Look, you don't just have one quest available, you have 3, right? All with competing deadlines, so players must choose who they help wisely. I typically stop at 3 choices here because having too many choices for some players causes what's called decision fatigue or choice paralysis. So let's say you have 3 quests available. Let's say one quest is helping an NPC find an item, a second quest would be escorting a caravan or a boat to a neighboring town, and a third quest would be trying to find a pair of missing explorers in a mountain range. And as a dungeon master, if you are presenting more options, feel free to give them a nudge with information. So maybe you let them roll a check. Let's say with quest 1 in this example, with the NPC's missing item, you might say quest 1 might be mundane and easier to complete, maybe a bit faster. Quest 2 and 3 might take a while, and you might not be able to get them both done by the end of the week or something. And having 3 paths really opens the opportunity to explore if players don't complete a quest in time, something might happen in the world. So let's say the players prioritize the mountain range with the explorers. Does the caravan go ahead and maybe it gets ransacked by thieves or monsters? There could have been a powerful artifact on the caravan. Perhaps an evildoer has access to it now. Now, if players chose a caravan first, perhaps a rival group goes to the mountain range to find the explorers, but only one comes back. Now there's tales of a creature or something in the mountains that's beginning to attack the outskirts of town because it's growing more confident and aggressive. A game can truly come alive when you add choices and competing choices for the players. Use the rule of 3 paths in lots of scenarios. Do you have like a dungeon to explore? Make 3 entrances, right? Do you have like a forest or some sort of biome? Usually come up with like maybe 3 different paths. The point of all this is to be flexible, being open to ideas and rolling with the punches of whatever your players give you. It's totally okay for your game to go off the rails every now and again. Mine sure have, and it's a lot of fun when it happens. So yeah, leave a comment if you have anything to add. What's your experience with railroading like? Have you ever gotten out of a railroading issue? Let me know. Thank you guys, and have a good one.